Hello, View of Uranus here. Today I'm going to go a little off the cuff. I sent my script out for a rewrite, or not a rewrite, but for an assessment, as it were. A man called Kemosabe. That's literally his name. The man called Kemosabe. I liked the way he reviewed things. I liked his YouTube videos. His Australian accent's a little thick, but I like the way his mind works. So I wanted him to look at my stuff, and he got a look at my Bible, my World Bible, and all the prep work I did before I even wrote the first script. And then he read my script. Now, he liked the script. The script was written more in a linear way, which means point A to point B, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. In other words, the anti-Tarantino. Okay. Anyway, he liked the dialogue. He liked the scene construction. And he said that the prep work really worked out well, because, I know the rules of the world. He was able to look at that, and so he kind of knew what I was going for, and he was very complimentary. But I'm still going to need a massive rewrite, mainly because while all the aspects are there, they're not necessarily in the right order. And that's what I want to talk about for just a second here. It's called blind spots. When you write with the door closed. Stephen King calls it writing with the door closed, which means that you don't allow anybody into the process. It all comes from you. You're channeling whatever's out there inspiring you. And, different theories, different people. But mine happens to belch La Cerveza and Honduran smoke. But you write with the door closed, but at some point you need another reader. Why? Because you need somebody who doesn't have your blind spots. Let me explain. You have a car. Most of us have a car. Some vehicle of some sort. I know SUVs are the rage. But in that car that you drive every single day, there are places where your eyes don't see things. Now, you could have this car for 10 years, and you're still not going to be able to see in that place. But one of your passengers, if you're trying to merge over and there's a car in that spot that you can't see, they're going to call out, and you're going to avoid an accident. There are a lot of people who have had accidents with cars they were very familiar with, and they never saw the other car because it's a blind spot. Also, there's something called a cognitive blind spot, which means that because your brain is operating on two levels, what you're actually seeing and what your brain is interpreting. Magicians dwell in this spot, They dwell in that place. And so, in other words, if you expect to see something, then that's what your brain's going to tell you that it saw. Your imagination will fill in the rest. I saw an experiment one time where some kids, their mother every single day would put on a yellow coat and take them out to the bus. And one day, just as an experiment, they got a total stranger who had a similar voice, and she put on the same yellow coat and led the kids to the bus stop. And they never realized it wasn't their mother. Now that seems far-fetched, but no, when you have an expectation, your brain will fill in the blanks. There was I was watching this television show one time, and this person trying to prove that this exists. They basically murdered a judge and went out afterwards, and nobody realized that the judge had been replaced because all they saw was the robe and the expectation. Well, that was a little far-fetched, to be honest, but I've seen it happen over and over again. So what's that have to do with writing? What it has to do with writing is you can look at the same script. You can go over it with a fine-tooth comb. You can dwell on it, obsess over it, pull a James Joyce and like rewrite it over and over again, word for word, and every word has to have significance, you know. And yet you're still going to miss things because you know what's in your brain, and you're trying to be the secretary that gets it out onto the page. But what was in your brain is still in your brain. And so you're going to see what you want to see on that page, even if it's not there. But a writer, another reader, someone that knows a little bit about the craft, they're going to look at that, and they're going to see what you missed. I have a major character, and I rewrote his dialogue as recently as just 2 or 3 days ago. And I finally got his dialogue to the point where I felt like, hey, all right, I think I finally got this guy. Because I kept reading him and I kept like, it's something off, it's something off. So I went and rewrote his dialogue again. And well, so I gave the link to the Dropbox, and this man was for a fee. I don't expect him to work for free, but for a very reasonable price, he looked it over. And one of the things he pointed out was this character. Once again, the dialogue is off. How do you know that the dialogue is off? It's easy. You know it's off. I know you want specifics. Okay, what specifically do you know when the dialogue's wrong? You just know it is. People who don't have ears for music can hear when things are out of tune. But when dialogue is right, it rings like a bell. There's something pure about it. There's something that just clicks. And you know it when you see it or when you hear it. Joss Whedon, for all his foibles and faults, politically and personally, and okay, he's a weasel and a jerkwad, but he can write freaking dialogue. That's why all the SJWs want to talk like they're in Joss Whedon shows. And they do a very poor job of it. Because when Joss Whedon is on his, he's the best dialogtician I think I've ever seen. And this comes from somebody who just completely abhors the man as a person for things that he says and does. But the man can write dialogue. And when he writes dialogue, it just works so well, you know? Now, I wouldn't put you in the direction of Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I don't think it was his best work. I think Angel is probably his best work. Not the last season, but before the last season. I don't know. When they added Spike, it was alright. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And what I'm talking about is you need to get another set of eyes on your work. I can tell when even looking at a comic book, because in the comic it's it's the art and everything, but I can tell when only one person's eyes has seen the work. I can tell when I'm looking at a one and only draft and that there was nobody else looking at this, because I can see the blind spots. That's the telltale sign of a first draft, blind spots. And even though what Mr. Kemosabe looked at was not a first draft, or not even second draft, it was actually about 10 drafts long, because I'm a little bit anal when it comes to that. Which is why I've got a channel on writing. Of all the things. I could be talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but and getting a lot of clicks, but I'd rather talk about the craft, because I want people to get better at the craft. And I'm a nerd when it comes to the craft. But you can always tell when you're looking at a work that has not been edited at all. And we've got a lot of those in Comicscapes right now. I'm looking at one right now. Was completely unreadable. And the guy is sweet. The guy is good. And I mean, at least, I've seen him on streams. I know where his heart is at, and he loves this character. He loves this world. But he needs somebody else to look at his work, because I couldn't get past the first 2 or 3 turns. And the bottom line is, this is a good illustration. Think about this. A roller coaster dwells within 2 perimeters, okay? First of all, it can't be too hard for people that are riding it. Because if you go beyond a certain physical parameters, then you're going to have people getting sick, got people getting hurt, and people that are not going to have a good time. Because not everybody wants to be completely, totally out of their mind terrified. So you have to back it off a little bit. But not so much that it's boring. Now, what does this mean? It means that you gotta have twists and turns. You gotta have some surprises. You gotta have intrigue. You've gotta have some expectations that are at least somewhat subverted. Not Rian Johnson subverted, which just go to retarded angles and completely destroy the work. But I'm talking about you gotta have a little bit of spice. But you can't put the ghost pepper into the chili. Because there's going to be people that love your chili because they love spicy foods. But you're not going to get a mass group of people to eat your chili. Because most of them is going to be like, oh God, this is not worth it. You've got to make the journey worth it. But you also got to make the journey just a little bit on the thrilling side. Otherwise, people are just going to give up at the first turn. But if your work is so convoluted that people can't follow it. Yes, I'm talking to you, Tarantino. And I guess early somewhat, Nolan. Memento. I'm sorry. I've never been able to get through that movie. I know. That's on me because it's a classic, right? But I'm sorry. And Tarantino, I'm sorry. I think he does a lot of things because, hey, I'm Tarantino. I'm going to take this and put this all the way at the end, Even though it should be in the first half of the movie so we know what's going on, Oh, well, I'm going to have a beloved character actor come out of nowhere, Christopher Walken, and talk about hiding a watch in his ass for 8 years of captivity. Sorry, I still don't understand why. I don't know why that's even in there. I'm sorry. That's just... And they're like, oh, it's Tarantino. Oh! But then you look at his later work, and he doesn't have that cutesy pie stuff in there, you know. He edited better. He probably had somebody saying, why is, yeah, that's not, take that out. Somebody trusted, evidently. But his later work's a lot better than his earlier work. I'm sorry, fight me on it. But what I'm saying is, you have to have a reader that comes in, that tells you, okay, there's too many turns, this is unreadable. You got to straighten out these curves, let them pick up some speed before you hit them with the loop-de-loop, And you got to have somebody that says, hey, there's a blind spot over there. You're about to sideswipe a transfer truck. You need that too. You need another set of eyes. And thanks to Mr. Kemosabe, I think my next draft is going to be really good. So, that is the view of Uranus for today.